Hare Krishna. Welcome to Tax Guru YouTube channel. This is CA Ronar Pingle, practicing chartered accountant based in Mumbai, also partner in Motilal and Associates LLP, member firm of Marks Network. Welcome to our video series GST Relearn, part 70. And today we are going to discuss provisions related to assessment and audit under GST. So let's dive into it and let me allow to share my screen. Part 17. And today we are going to discuss assessment and audit under GST. Let's see what we are going to learn. Meaning, that is introduction to assessment and audit under GST, types of assessment under GST, self-assessment, provisional assessment, scrutiny of returns, best judgment assessment, assessment of unregistered persons, summary assessment, meaning and scope of audit under GST, then types of audit under GST, audit by tax authorities, special audit, comparison between assessment and audit, a few of the practical examples, few of the key judicial pronouncements we will see, and common issues and ICAI suggestions. And then at the end, we will see conclusions that can be drawn from today's learning. So let's start. What is meant by assessment and audit? Assessment and audit are what vital tools under GST to ensure what self-compliance, accuracy in tax and payment, and proper maintenance of records. What assessment and audit helps us to ensure self-compliance, accuracy in tax payment, and proper maintenance of records. The GST law primarily relies on self-assessment but provides for departmental assessments and audits to safeguard revenue and verify correctness. The base is what self-assessment means. A GST law is based on the self-assessment, but in few of the cases, we need assessment and audit to safeguard the government revenue and verify the correctness too. So that is why there is assessments and audits. Okay, but primarily law is based on self-assessment. What is mean by assessment? Section 2, subsection 11 of CGST Act defines assessment as determination of tax liability under this act and includes what? Assessment means determination of tax liability under this act and includes self-assessment, reassessment, provisional assessment, summary assessment, and base judgment assessment. Means assessment word is include all such type of assessments, and also it is main meaning of it is determination of tax liability under the act. Let's see one by one types of assessment under GST. Section 15(9) talks about self-assessment. Every registered person is required to assess their own tax liability, furnish returns under section 13(9), and pay tax accordingly is what called self-assessment. Practical example, ABC Private Limited purchased goods worth rupees 10 lakhs plus GST 18%. It sales goods worth rupees 15 lakhs plus GST 18%. Output tax 2,70,000, input tax 1,80,000. So net tax payable is rupees 90,000. This computation and payment are part of self-assessment and need to be disclosed in monthly return. So that is what self-assessment, and section 59 is talk about self-assessment. Next, provisional assessment. Section 60 talks about provisional assessment. If the taxable person is unable to determine the value or rate of tax, they may request provisional assessment in Form GST SMT01. Okay, what is mean by provisional assessment? If the taxable person is unable to determine the value or rate of tax, then they may request provisional assessment in Form GST SMT01. What are the conditions? Application to Assistant Commissioner, bond with security to safeguard the revenue, and final assessment to be done within 6 months, and that can be extendable on request. So example, XYZ Limited imports new technology goods but is unsure of the correct HSN rate, that is 12% or 18%. It requests provisional assessment and deposit tax at 12% with security for the difference. On final assessment that should be taken within 6 months, 18% is confirmed and the balance 6% is paid with interest. So that is what provisional assessment, and relevant section is section 60. Now moving further, scrutiny of returns. Section 61 talks about scrutiny of returns. Tax authorities can scrutinize returns to verify the correctness of the returns filed. If discrepancies are found, an intimation in Form GST ASMT 10 is issued. For example, officer notices that ITC claimed in GSTR 3B exceeds what that reflected in 2A by rupees 5 lakhs. Intimation can be issued if taxpayer accepts and pays, proceedings closed there. So that is what called scrutiny of returns. Means whatever we assessed, self-assessed our tax, we file the returns that need to be checked or verified from the department point of view. So department may carry scrutiny of returns, and that scrutiny will be for verifying the correctness of the returns filed. If anything found irregular, department and the particular authority sends an intimation or issued an intimation to the assessee, and then assessee further explain about what is why that stand particular is taken, and what is to be what why that is computation is correct or not. Okay, so that is what scrutiny of returns. Best judgment assessment. Section 62 talks about best judgment assessment. Applicable when registered person fails to furnish returns even after notice under section 46. When this can be taken place, when a registered person fails to furnish returns and even after notice under section 46 issued to the registered person, and even then it is failed to file, then best judgment assessment taken place. For example, PQR Enterprises fails to file GSTR 3B for 3 months consecutively. Based on available data from GSTR 1 and e-way bills, the officer determines the tax liability and issues what assessment order, and which is called as best judgment assessment. If return is filed within 30 days, order is deemed withdrawn. If return is filed within 30 days, the order is deemed withdrawn. Otherwise, that best judgment assessment will be final. Assessment of unregistered persons. Very important. Section 63 talks about assessment of unregistered person. If a person liable to register fails to do so, the officer can assess to the best of his judgment. Okay, for example, a trader crosses rupees 40 lakh turnover threshold but doesn't register, then department detects and assess the tax on the turnover based on market data. So that assessment will be treated as assessment of unregistered person. So there are number of trackers department can come to know how this person is whether liable to register or not. It is everything is now interconnected. Summary assessment. Section 64 talks about what? Summary assessment. If the officer has evidence that delay may adversely affect the revenue, he can pass a summary assessment order with a prior permission of joint or additional commissioner. For example, a truck carrying unaccounted goods is intercepted, the officer passes a summary order to safeguard the tax recovery immediately. So the summary assessment is to safeguard the revenue of the department. So the officer, if he has evidence and that may delay adversely affect the revenue, he can pass a summary assessment order with the prior permission of joint or additional commissioner. And now we are moving to meaning and scope of audit, and further what are the types of audit. So audit means is what? Examination of records, returns and other documents. Examination of records, returns and documents maintained by registered person to verify the correctness of turnover, tax paid, refund claimed and ITC availed. So the objective and the scope of audit is that to examine the records, returns, and other documents to come to the conclusion whether the returns are correctly filed, the data is correctly maintained, means that the turnover, tax paid, and refund claim or ITC availed is correct. So, what are the types of audits under GST? Let's see one by one. Section 65 talks about audit by tax authorities. Conducted by whom? CGST and SGST officers. Prior notice of 15 working days given to the assessee. Audit to be completed within 3 months and can be extendable by another 6 months. Findings communicated in Form GST ADT 02. For example, a departmental audit reveals ITC claimed on ineligible items, that is motor car. Audit reports directs reversal with interest. So that is from the tax authorities point of view. Section 65 talks about audit that can be taken by the tax authorities. Okay. Special audit, that is section 66, talks about special audit. When the officer believes value has not been correctly declared or credit availed is not within the limit, he can direct the audit by chartered accountant or cost or accountant nominated by the commissioner, and that can be called it as a special audit. Expenses borne by the department, report to be furnished within 90 days. For example, during scrutiny, officer finds complex transactions between related parties. Special audit by CA is ordered under section 66. Means whenever there is a complexity of the transactions and officer believes that value has not been correctly declared or credit availed is not within the limit, then it can direct the audit by a CA or a cost accountant nominated by commissioner. Now let's see comparison between assessment and audit. Why they both are there, means assessment is also there and audit is also there. In assessment, the proper authority is proper officer, and audit is conducted by tax department or a qualified chartered accountant or cost accountant. Objective of assessment is to determine the tax liability, and objective of audit is verify the correctness of the self-assessment. Assessment triggers when filing issue or discrepancy, and audit triggers when regular verification or specific order. Time limit for assessment as per section 60 and 64, and audit normally within 3 to 9 months. Outcome is of assessment is tax demand or confirmation, and outcome of audit is audit report and corrective action. Let's see a practical summary table. Section 59 talks about self-assessment, Form C GSTR 3B, that is regular filing, provisional assessment, Section 60, scrutiny assessment, Section 61, Section 62 talks about best judgment assessment, Section 63 talks about assessment of unregistered person, Section 64 talks about summary assessment, Section 65, audit by department, that is tax authority, and Section 66, special audit, okay, in case of complex valuation. Let's see some of the judicial references. In Messrs. Keshav Industries versus State of UP, It is held that summary assessment can't be done without evidence of urgency. Very important. Summary assessment can't be done without evidence of urgency. In Mega Traders versus State of Kerala, filing of return within 30 days nullifies the best judgment assessment. If you file the return within 30 days, it nullifies the best judgment assessment. Let's see some of the common issues and ICAI suggestions. Clear guidelines needed for what? Time-bound closure of provisional assessments. Simplified scrutiny notices via GST and portal is what required. Integration of audit findings with GSTR 9C data to avoid duplication. And ICAI suggests risk-based audit selection to reduce the compliance burden. And now we will see what we can conclude from today's learning. GST follows the principle of self-assessment, as we said, ensuring easy of compliance. Departmental assessments and audits acts as a checks and balances. Then only it will required if anything is irregular, seen or observed or detected. Provisions ensure fair opportunity to taxpayer before finalizing the liability. A transparent, digital, and risk-based audit environment will enhance what? Taxpayer confidence and revenue integrity. Chartered accountants, as always, play a key role in ensuring what? Compliance through audits and representations. That's it from today. Hope you are getting valuable knowledge from this video series and you are growing in your learning. So stay tuned to the Tax Guru YouTube channel for latest updates and video series like this. If you are not yet subscribed, then do subscribe it. And if you like this video, please click on like and also share in your network. If you have any suggestions, observation, queries, you can comment below the video and also you can directly communicate with me too. So keep learning. Thank you. Thank you so much for patient hearing. Stay tuned and we will meet in next video soon. Bye bye. Take care. Hare Krishna.